All right, let me tell you guys about our very first sponsor. When we first set out to make this podcast, we had absolutely no idea what we were doing, but we knew we needed a place to record, edit, host, and distribute our show. Luckily for us, we found Anchor, which has all of these services in one spot in an easy-to-use format on desktop or mobile, and it's free, which fit really nicely into our beginner budget of $0. We were able to distribute our podcast to all of the major platforms like Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's Mel.
And Kel.
And this is It's Called Culture.
Ever heard of it?
Welcome back, guys. This is part 2 of our interview with Michelle Costa, the Portuguese princess from Providence, from CBS's Big Brother Season 10. The first half of her interview was last week on episode 26, so if you haven't listened to that yet, you should probably go back and listen to that first, and then this picks up halfway through that interview, and it's the remaining hour. So sit back and enjoy.
Right after I got out of the house, maybe about a year later, I went to Azores and I went to San Miguel, and I was in the airport and people were just like looking at me and I'm like, oh, whatever, and people were just like they were freaking out. And I was like, oh, something must be going on. And they were just like, hey. So it was airing that time in Portugal. And they were like, oh my God, like, you're Michelle, like, you're the Portuguese princess. Like, they were like freaking out. Like I would get into a cab and they were like, oh my God.
That was like as it was airing? That's crazy. Yeah.
And it was airing there and it was a year later and it was so wild. I was just like, that's me. Like I'm Portuguese. Like I love my, where I'm from. I'm first generation. And I've always been somewhere where it's kind of like not, I mean, I'm not saying that it was looked down upon, but like I went to school where there wasn't like, I was in the non-Portuguese growing up side. And then there was the Portuguese side, but I was in the non-Portuguese side. So it was like different, but I always was like all about my culture, where I came from. I was all about the fashions. I was all about the food. I was like, when you come to my house, like you're walking on vinyl, like don't sit on that couch. That's not the living room. It's a living room, but no one lives there.
That's right.
So I never realized how much what I was doing affected a lot of people in like a positive way. And a lot of people who didn't know a lot about Portuguese culture, like kind of learned about it. So that was really, really cool.
So I love that, because I would say, how old were you when you were in the house? You like 30 or?
Believe it or not, this is kind of crazy. This is like a little cool fun fact. I was 28 and I was the youngest female in the house.
Wow. Because I feel like now, like they're so much younger.
So yeah, so they're normally like 21, 22, 23, like young.
Yeah.
Then they throw a couple of like older people in there. I was the youngest girl at 28. So I think that's another reason why our season was really, really good.
That's interesting.
Don't get me wrong. I was still like really immature at that age, but
yeah,
there was like me. And then there was Keisha. She was like 29 and April was like 30 and like Libra was 33 and Angie was 30. I think Angie was 30. And then Rennie was 56.
I never realized that about your season.
Nobody really thinks about that because they automatically assume like, okay, how many 21 to 25-year-olds are they?
Right, exactly.
So yeah, so I was 28 when I was on Big Brother.
Trying to think what our age difference is, but I was probably in college, but like early 20s. I was probably like 21 or something when I was watching that season. And I still wasn't at the point, like I was still at the who gives a crap about my culture phase of my life. Like where you you're living it, you don't care, you have no interest in it, you're not proud of it, you're just kind of like everybody's
at that point.
You don't appreciate it. Everyone around you is Portuguese, you're just like whatever. But you were older and you were on the show and you were owning your culture and you just had this pride and it was just the coolest thing. And like I've gotten there through my journey as I've aged, but I wasn't there when I was watching it. And to see you on there, I'm like, oh my God, how can this girl be on here? And she's just owning her culture like that. Like, it was the coolest thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, when I was growing up and stuff like that, I kind of was like not embarrassed, but I was like, my God, my parents don't really speak, English, and they work in factories. And but my parents were hard workers. My parents taught me another language, which is one of the best gifts I have, is knowing another language. With that language, I could speak to somebody who's Spanish, that's Latino. I can speak in Cape Verde. I can go to Angola. I can go to a lot of different countries, Brazil, and I can be able to speak the language. I can go to Mexico. I can go to Colombia. I can go anywhere. So it's such a gift. But at that time, I did not realize that. I took advantage of it and didn't realize how great it was. But I still learned how to speak it, learn how to read it, learn how to write it without going to Portuguese school.
So you never had any type of like schooling or anything?
Well, I can't say that. So everybody around where I was growing up, they had their kids going to like the Portuguese social clubs, and they had like their own classes. But believe it or not, in Rhode Island, where I lived in Cumberland, it's the only school that offered Spanish, French, and Portuguese.
Wow.
And so I didn't know how to read, like read.
Yeah.
I know how to read like a menu and stuff like that. And I did not know how to write it. I knew how to write some things, some palabras, but so I actually got to learn like the meat and potatoes of the Portuguese language. So I technically went to Portuguese school, but not going to the traditional Portuguese school that would be of the Lusitania Club.
Yeah.
Or Aletheia Fatima Church in the basement. Okay.
Right. Exactly. We always had it at like our school, like our elementary school had someone come in to do some language classes, and then my high school barely, but because we went to a Portuguese elementary school from K to 8, it was like only Portuguese people. But then my high school was not Portuguese, and they had Portuguese offered as a language for all 4 years. So that's where I learned to like read and write and do all that there. So that was cool. But it didn't feel different because it was just my whole community was Portuguese. We lived in such a Portuguese area. It didn't feel unique. But then you get on a show like Big Brother and you're sitting there with people who are probably like, where's Portugal? Like people who have never even heard of Portuguese people. And so that must have been really cool or interesting too, to kind of show them the culture. Do you have any like interesting tidbits or stories about how people perceived you as the Portuguese person in the house?
Well, it's funny because I actually I got the name Portuguese Princess of Providence from Dan on that season when he was giving one of his motivational speeches from, being a Catholic school teacher. I was hanging off the wall, and I was literally like, I'm 5'8.5" or 5'9" almost. I'm like, at that time I was 120 pounds. Oh, can I go back? Anyway. and it was just down to me and April. April was 4'9", tiny little thing. And she was like a ballerina.
She was built for the wall comp. Yeah.
Yeah, she was built for that. Like I should have never even been close to that because I was just so tall. It wasn't meant for tall people. It wasn't meant for people with muscles. So I should have not been hanging off that wall. But I mean, I have a background of being competitive. I did marathons. I ran cross country. I ran indoor track, outdoor track. I did high jump and pentathlon. I did the Boston Marathon.
Damn.
Don't even tell me that you're going to think that I'm not going to hang off a wall. Yeah. If you're telling me I'm going to hang off the wall, I'm hanging off the wall for as long as I can.
I'll be here all day, folks.
Wait, is this a little wall that you're hanging off of?
Oh, yeah. The wall moves.
And it tilts. Yeah.
The tilts. So it's your own body weight that you're holding up, and it tilts, it's shaking. You're holding on, but my hands were behind my back. So I had to hold on to like almost like a ballerina bar, and you're on a ledge, and it's raining, it's sliming, it's windy. There's things coming in your eyes. There's slime being thrown on you. The wall is moving, it's shaking. It was supposed to symbolize the earthquake that we got. It was supposed to be like a ha-ha kind of moment joke.
Yeah.
Literally, I hung on for 3 hours and 40 minutes. Like that's why these competitions now, they're like 40 minutes long. I'm like,
they don't last for shit now.
No, they don't.
They're
I mean,
pathetic.
if
Yeah.
you go back and watch Kelly, like you'll go back and see Evil Dick. He was outside hanging onto a ring for I think like 9 hours.
Holy
Ridiculous.
shit.
Just ridiculous stuff. And then you get this season and they barely do endurance comps. And if they do, they're hanging off for like 5 minutes and the person who wins has a broken ankle. Like, whatever. So yeah, so I was just hanging off that wall for dear life. And so Dan comes around and he's given the speech. And now Dan was aligned with me at times, and because I didn't really believe him or trust him. So I was like, we got to keep him real close.
Yeah.
See, I knew all about what Dan was doing. That's the thing. That's why Dan was scared of me. He even said it. I need to get her out because she's going to beat me and she knows.
Weren't you saying he was a plant? Weren't you the one who was
Yes.
like yelling like he's a plant? And he kind of was.
Yeah.
You kind of
kinda
was the America vote thing. So
Oh yeah, he did. He did all the things. I told him everything that he did. He hugged Jesse, all the stuff, everything I got. I should have got his money because I told you everything that he did was true. And they told me that I don't know what I'm talking about and I had no idea what was happening and I was mistaken. And then at the end, if you look at the finale, there's me zoomed in on me and they're showing all the stuff that Dan did. And I was like,
I knew it. Yeah.
Yeah.
My Portuguese intuition. Go ahead.
Don't play with that Portuguese intuition. But so he's giving a speech and he's like, and the Portuguese princess from Providence is hanging up there. She wants to see her mom. She wants to go to her community and tell them to never give up. And so that's where the Portuguese princess of Providence. Now the speech was a lot longer than that. And it was probably like a 10-minute speech, but that's where the Portuguese Princess of Providence title came about. So
I forgot.
Awesome.
I remember his motivational speeches, but I forgot that that's how it got coined was from him saying that on the speech.
Yep.
So that's awesome. Yeah.
Yep, the plant did it. Yeah.
The plant.
I mean, it was so funny because they didn't want somebody like me to win. I mean, not saying that they do stuff to make people win. I just think that they have people that they like in the cast that they want to be the one that wins. Okay. And sometimes they do certain competitions to make sure that they get saved if they're in trouble or something. It could be possible. It might not be. We all have eyes. We all can see sometimes the stuff that happens.
I've always suspected that like in the diary room, and I know we're not allowed to talk about production, but they have to ask questions and you can deduce, use your context clues to just kind of like, okay, why are they asking me this question? And kind of start to put pieces together of what might be going on. But they probably ask questions to kind of throw you off too. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's a state of paranoia in there. So they could be innocently asking you a question or they could be not. So that's the way that they operate in regards to like the diary room and asking you questions. But then when you leave the diary room, you're like,
You start overthinking everything that just happened in there.
I remember like one of the questions was like, so do you think that like Jesse would turn his back on you? And I was like, that's like my ride or die. That's my boy. And then I walked out and I was like, now I'm thinking like
Jesse, we got to talk. Like, yeah, they mess with your head.
You can't talk about your diary room.
Right.
With other house guests because they completely tell you to shut up or they cut off your mic or they send you somewhere or they do something like, so if you start talking to somebody and being like, hey, they were asking me this and that and the other, they'll be like, Michelle, stop that. Michelle, cut it off. Michelle, go to DR, blah, 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 whatever. It's definitely paranoia and it's brilliantly done.
At this point, 24 seasons in, they know how to subtly make some tweaks.
Yeah, and this is the thing is nowadays they have people that don't really watch the show. They don't have a lot of the super fans. So a lot of people like I remember Jeff was like, what's the veto? Like, what's that? I mean, he ended up being like the golden boy.
Yeah.
But he didn't even know what Big Brother was. And I was like, what?
Unfortunately, like now the more modern seasons, I feel like majority of the cast is like that. And you have like your few super fans and your people who are casual watchers of the game, but then you have like a handful of people who are just recruits and they don't know the game at all. And it's just it's interesting because it really wasn't like that back when you were on. It was kind of like people knew the game, they knew how to play the game.
Yeah. And so that's why I think like they can get away with it to a certain aspect, where they can ask questions and maybe somebody doesn't pick up on that. For instance, something I can tell you without talking about production is they would play, because we're not allowed to have music. Only if you win HOH, you get like a CD player. Well, at the time, we got a CD player. You kids don't know what CD players are. So they gave us like a music, like if you won HOH, you had a choice of whatever. You would fill out something before you went in the house and they would give you your favorite music. In the beginning of the morning, they wake up with, hey, house guests, wake up. So they want you to be up at a certain time because they want to make sure that you're there doing the live feeds or whatever the case may be. So they would actually play music the beginning of the morning to wake you up. And so they would play 3 songs. And so I was listening to the songs and I'm like, okay, so I started listening to the songs every day, excited because I love music and I was dancing and stuff, but the songs actually meant something different. So the songs would actually be what your day was going to be like or what your competitions were going to be like.
It was like a hint or a clue, right?
Yeah, like welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games, and was like a jungle comp that night.
Ah,
So I
okay.
started like realizing that. So I was like, hey, Jesse, I was like, listen to the songs because the songs are actually going to predict how the days are going to be going. It was crazy because when they did Russian roulette veto on me, which was Dan's way that he backdoored me, is he played a game called Russian roulette veto. And he went around and asked questions to the people sitting there. And if you didn't answer the question, you were going on the block. So he said, you know, Ollie, you shot wrong. So Michelle, you're going on the block. So he like pretty much done Russian roulette. I got the bullet. And that morning was one of those songs that came out. I don't know the artist, but it was like it's had like gunshots in it. And I was like, damn, I'm going home.
Oh,
And they
Oh.
had the girl, it was called The Guy from Point Judith. And Point Judith is a place in Rhode Island. And I
no.
was like,
Yep.
I gotta
Oh.
try to stay because I'm going. And
Oh no.
the songs mean something. And like this season, I heard that they didn't even like think about the songs meaning something. So that could be something where you could miss out on kind of like a clue.
Yeah, you were such a smart player in that game with just picking up on all those things. Cause like the only one I heard of people doing this season was Taylor counted like the condoms in the
Oh yeah, you count everything.
you
We
start
counted
counting
the
things
dental
and like
dam. We counted the dental dam.
so you start like counting things because sometimes there's a competition. You don't know what the competitions are going to be. And sometimes there's a competition that's like how many pillows were in the house or something dumb. So people just like start counting everything and they're like trying to memorize all this stuff. And like, you don't know if it's going to be useful or not, but you have to start reading into everything and like the songs that they're playing and all that. So that's really cool. But I haven't seen as much of that lately. Like this season didn't really have much of that or any of that at all.
No, probably I would say probably the past 5 or 6 years, like,
Mm.
it was kind of like OG status a little bit, like after my season, like 12, 13, and then it started kind of, they went to the season 14 where they brought Dan back and people fell for the funeral and all that kind of stuff. And, Jesse and everything. And then by 15, it was like, that was really bad. And then it went like kind of where
Yes.
it was a little bit more of a mixed bag. And then it got to really like newbies and people
Yep.
getting pulled out of bars. And so I'm just hoping that maybe they'll go back a little bit to like old school ways, but I don't know.
So let's talk about next season. Next season is year 25.
Mhm.
And I've heard like speculation rumors that it's going to be some kind of returning house guests, some
Yeah.
kind of all stars, all winners, second chances. I've heard all kinds of things thrown out
Yeah.
there. Like I've also seen you be pretty vocal about you would return to the show, right?
Oh yeah.
In a heartbeat.
Well, I have some unfinished business that I have, and I would play the game, I think, a lot more like so hard to take the emotion out of a Portuguese person to be so like animated. But I also am 42 years old. I've had, a lot of things happen to me and looking back and, I said a lot of stupid things. I did a lot of stupid things. I've, learned from them, and I've grown, and I'm like in a different place. Don't get me wrong. Like I got the Portuguese. You can never take the Portuguese out of the Portuguese, okay? But I would be able to control it more. And my social game was really, really good. I was competitive. So it would be more of a matter of kind of like the competitive side. I just had knee surgery, and I'm probably going to have another knee surgery maybe. But there's also like things that happen in your life that you look at life differently as well. I lost my niece 6 months ago, my 3-year-old niece. So it was a very tragic thing that happened to our family. And so I would have like when I would be looking up in the sky and I would be like thinking about something that I'm fighting for, I would be fighting for her and fighting for my family for trying to get over this tragedy that we've had. And also making an awareness of what happened to my niece and making sure it doesn't happen again. So I would use it as a platform. I would do it in such a, I think, fabulous way, a little bit of drama, a little dirty, but good game and good play. And also the fact of I have a lot of relationships with a lot of past out guests. So there will be some friendships that might have to be put on the line, unfortunately. So I think that's where if they play their cards right, I think Big Brother would have a whole different type of good hearty game, but there would also be unfortunately some friendships that would be put on the line. And I think that that would be not good for the relationships, but really good TV. So I don't know what route they're going to go. I don't want to see all winners just because, yeah, I think that it would, I don't know. I just, that I wouldn't want to see, but I wouldn't mind seeing like runners up or first evicted.
I love the first evicted. I've always thought that. I'm like, why not just go back? These people had a rough go of it. Like, just take all the first evictees and put them in a house together. They're all on the same playing field. Like, that'd be so cool.
Yes, some people didn't have like the opportunity to even go in the house, which is kind of messed up. But at the same time, I feel like it should also be like my thought of what a cool all-star would be is to bring back 3 people that were like kind of trivial, monumental from each season and having a competition for them to be able to get into the house. So sometimes, I guess necessarily depending on the competition, maybe nobody from that season makes it there, maybe all of the 3 people or whatever, but like somebody who, has a second chance as the person that was evicted first or whatever, and have a competition and see who really wants to get back in the house, instead of it being, oh, the producer's favorite. And, because I'll be honest with you, a lot of these favorite choices that the producers have are not what is realistic or politically correct. And I know that like they are, in a process of turning themselves, which is CBS, in regards to different people changing titles, and then Viacom buying them out, which is MTV is a part of that. And MTV, if you watch MTV, you watch The Challenge, you watch The Real World, you watch The Road Rules, they don't hide behind any type of racial issues. They don't hide behind any misogynistic or homophobic or anything like that. They put it out on the table. They kick people out because of it. They talk about it. They address it. They don't hide it from the public. And I think we're starting to see a little bit of that, even though it hasn't been enough for me. We started a little bit with what happened this season with Kyle, what happened with Kyle and everything.
So you're starting to see it a little bit. Even there was, I think was it season 15 where Julie got real, she got real with the people in their exit interviews.
Yeah. Because they were talking about Asian culture and hello. But, Julie also has to be biased. But yeah, we were like laid into them. But the other thing I don't like about America, and if you watch, say, like the UK, where they come out, they're coming out to a huge crowd and they're booing, they're yelling, they're cheering, they're throwing stuff. And like in America, USBB, at the finale or when somebody gets evicted, you cannot boo. They tell you, do not boo if you're in the audience. If you notice, when Kyle came out,
it was like a little golf clap.
And it was production that was clapping. And I'm like, listen, if they hate him. Like, let's just call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
Right. So they've definitely done more than they have in the past in terms of kind of showing some of that stuff, but they still tailor it to whatever fits their agenda or however they want to spin it and say it. You know what I mean? Like, it's even some of his jury segments when he was telling the other house guests, it all seemed very like scripted for him of like, this is the PC way I need to lay this out to my house guests and stuff. So it was very oddly done this time around.
I think it was, he was one of their favorites. And, you know.
How did he get into that America's vote? Top 3?
Well, unfortunately, we live in a society now that we've gone full circle from when we've tried to come out of racism. We've turned into like the hate type of crowd, and because of a lot of politics, I guess you could say. And it's brought people out that think that it's okay to say and do some of the things that they do. So I think to me, it showed me like the divide that we have in this country. It's not a pretty look for America.
No, it was
not a pretty look.
It brought an air of like it took the air out of the room when that got announced.
And there's a lot of people that would be listening to me saying this right now that would say I'm 100% wrong and that he didn't do anything wrong. And I say that's your opinion. I don't believe in that, so that's just my opinion. And I mean, what he said and what he did was probably a lot of what people think and stuff like that, or how they perceive it. He did really kind of get into it in a very uncomfortable type of conversation. And he was uneducated. So it wasn't from him being like, oh, well, blah, 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 because he was actually friends with Monty and he was friends with people that he was accusing. Weird, because a lot of the people in there that he's saying that they're in cahoots and stuff like that didn't get along.
There was no evidence to support that accusation or that assumption.
Yeah. And yet he was lumping them together just because of them being colored. Or Indy, she's from Brazil. They looped her in there. Joseph, they looped him in there.
We would have been looped in there too, probably, as children of immigrants, Yep.
I was assuming, I'm like, does this guy say something racial or something?
Kind of like minority related. Yeah. He kind of lumped them all into a big group.
Oh, okay. All right. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So, and he's like from Utah. He's a Mormon, and he's saying that he grew up in the Mormon life, and he wasn't really aware of like what he was saying that was controversial, which from what I gather, he said that he had left the Mormon. He left because at a certain point, I think when you're 18 or 17 or 18, they tell you to leave the Mormon world to see what it's like, and if you come back, then you embrace the Mormon world, and if you don't, then you can never come back.
Oh, okay.
So he said he had never experienced anything like that. And I thought that to be very odd, because you can't say that nowadays. You can't say that you're not able to be educated, that you're not able to understand the difference between being racist and being homophobic and being misogynist and saying something that's going to make somebody uncomfortable. And the reason you're there is that you're a TikTok influencer.
Right.
So you would be probably the top of the line of seeing stuff,
right?
So the fact that you're saying I don't know, I don't know, because I'm young and I thought that was a cop out, and I think that was what actually aggravated a lot of people more, is that he didn't just be like, I'm sorry, like I did not realize that I was saying that. He tried to make an excuse for it. And that's what's wrong with people nowadays, is that you got to take accountability for things that you say and grow from there, and don't say, but, you need to own it, learn it, feel it, move on, and try to better yourself. So,
yeah. Yep, that was Indy's point in the jury too. She's like, with the internet and the world at your fingertips now, like there's no excuse, So
yeah.
I'm intrigued with this whole Big Brother thing.
See, Kelly's like, I gotta kind of do a little like investigation on this.
So my parents watch it. They watch the Big Brother like Brazil, and I think they do Portugal, but my mom really loves like the Brazilian channel, and she has to pay extra for it and stuff. So she loves like the Big Brother Brazil. But I was like, I have to mention this on the podcast. So my mom loves watching it. My dad will watch it with her, but she gets so annoyed that they don't make their beds. She's like,
yeah, some of them don't.
She's like, hoje é tudo gente, hoje não faz o commodore. She's like, you're on TV. They're being filmed. They don't want to make their bed.
Yeah. Oops. Don't do their dishes. Like some people, like I would be doing my dishes and they would just throw their dishes in there. And I'm like,
wait, what?
No. Do I look like the maid?
And that kind of stuff, like it has nothing to do with the game, but that kind of stuff will get you sent home or targeted for sure. Like you want to be the one who's in there doing everyone else's dishes. You want to be that person. You don't want to be the one who's leaving your crap everywhere,
Yeah. And no, I did the dishes, but then sometimes Jerry was like, well, that's what the woman does. So we already know. No, I'm just kidding. But the thing, Kelly, with I just wanted to point out that the Big Brothers in a lot of other countries will not allow anybody to remain in the house if they do say something that's racial, or they'll say something in a conversation like in the UK, there was somebody that said something about, I think it was very homophobic or something in regards to that. And they immediately had a house meeting and the person is kicked out of the house.
Wow.
They do not
tolerate.
They do not allow any of that. And I think that should be, the same for Big Brother US, but it's a different style. Because I don't know about Brazil, but I know that like in the UK and in like Australia and stuff, that the Australians vote for who wins and the UK people vote for who wins, who stays every week, who gets evicted. So they're the ones that control the vote.
Okay.
They don't tolerate that. You're out, your ass is out. You went in the diary room and you went right out the other door.
Yep.
There wasn't even an opportunity. So that's why I think America, it's like you think that America would be ahead of the game.
Right. I remember this was like a long time ago. I first obviously got introduced to reality TV with like Real World and Road Rules. I always thought one day I was going to be on Road Rules, or I wanted to do the challenges. And I loved like Real World because like, you get to be at a house all day. Like, it was fun. I still remember one of the seasons. I don't know if you guys got into Road Rules, Real Worlds, but one of the seasons was in Seattle, and there was a guy and a girl. Steven had the smack.
I know.
Steven had smacked Irene, right?
Oh yeah, he opened up the cab and poop and closed the door.
And he was out. Like they were like, dude, you can't. I think like they might have had like a little house meeting as well. Cause I feel like I remember everybody on the couch, but like MTV was like, nope, like you gotta go. Like you hit.
Big Brother US would do that too. Like anything physical, a physical altercation, they would immediately walk you out too. But but it's a lot different when it's like the spoken part of it and words and that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, you would think America would have been, or they would be on top of that, but no, just shows you, it just shows you where we're at in this world.
Going backwards.
Yeah.
God bless America.
So the last thing that we'll do before we hop into our final segment is the show has evolved over the years. So when you were on the show, as far as social media aspects of what was going on in the world at the time, the top social media platform was MySpace. We're not trying to age any of us here. We're not trying to age anybody, but it was MySpace, and it was just a different world back then. Like you didn't have people live tweeting the show every day and like that kind of stuff. And I feel like that is a very different environment to come out of the show afterwards. When you come out and all of a sudden, like these people that just came out 24 hours ago or 48 hours ago from this house, they're either coming out to a shitstorm of people who absolutely hate them and have all the receipts. BB Twitter is, they've got, here's all the video clips of what you said and did in that house. and they're going to hold you to it, or they love you and you don't know which it's going to be. But it was a little harder to do that in your season. So I feel like it changes the way people act in the house a little bit. Back then, it was like you could fight and you could get into arguments and you weren't going to come out to that. You know, people aren't going to make a MySpace hate page. Maybe they did. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they might have.
Yeah, it was definitely like MySpace. Facebook had just started getting popular. I remember coming back to a lot of Facebook messages and stuff like that. And then I think Twitter was just starting. So when I came out, that's when I jumped on Twitter. But it's a different world because you didn't really know like about followers or, you know, different types of products that you can like. I mean, I remember like we had hummus and the hummus was from Taunton, Massachusetts. And I was like, hummus, Taunton, Mass, call me like when I get home. And like now Taylor's getting like phone calls from Lay's potato chips talking about, we want to give you a lot of money to promote us.
Right.
So it was a different world. And also there was definitely like the hate and the love. No matter what you're doing, there's people that are going to hate you and love you. And you just got to like try to learn how to navigate through that, you know? A lot of people didn't like the alliance I was on. A lot of people didn't like what I said about Libra because I said that she took the Hawaii trip when she should be hanging out with her kids. And people were like, why did you say that about kids? I'm like, I didn't say anything about her kids. I just said that she doesn't want to be around her kids, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, I probably like that was very angry. Like I didn't say anything bad about them, but just the fact that it came out of my mouth was, you know, unacceptable. So there was definitely that, but it was definitely a lot different back then than it is now. Now there's like, I mean, it's very bad. I mean, people would definitely send me like hate mail. And I mean, I have the occasional like weird people sending me like not death threats, but just like watch your back and I
God.
But it comes with the platform.
Yeah.
But nowadays, like it's so different because you know you have like Instagram, you have the TikTok, and then you have like the creepy whatever it is, Donald Trump's new platform. That's like a more of a racial and very intense kind of situation. And then, you know, it's just a whole different aspect because people want users and they want followers and Turner's rug store. And, you know, so it was more promoting instead of playing the game. They would do it in like a different way.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it's taken like you're going to come out of the house and you're going to have followers. What don't you understand about that? Mm-hmm. Like that's a given. It's how you veer and maneuver into what you want from it. Right. So people like actually to have hatred. They want to be talked about. It's better to be talked about than not to be talked about at all. That's one of the things that we hear a lot in being in the reality world. So, and it's also like mental health wise, it puts a lot, you know, a big toll on you. It's being able to make sure that, you know, you can be safe within your own self as well, because it's very harsh and it's very hard to listen to some of the things that people can be behind a computer and keyboard warriors or whatever they call themselves. They can say whatever they want behind some keyboards, but when they see you to their face, you know, they're like, hey, can I get a picture? And then you don't even know that they're Joe Schmo, and there you have that, like, I hate Michelle Costa as their like profile name, and they're the ones are the first ones that want to take pictures with you. So
that's crazy.
Do they since I feel like listening to you guys talk about Big Brother and learning all the different crazy things they made you guys eat, it just seems like it's like a big mind on you guys.
Yeah.
Do they do anything for you guys like when you guys got off the show, like as in mental health? Like, do they have you guys like talk to a therapist or anything?
When you get escorted out the door, no. when you're no longer in the house, there's a doctor there.
Okay.
Therapist, psychiatrist, I don't know exactly the terminology, that would speak to you, and they would say, when you leave the house, you know, just don't take some time out for yourself and don't go on social media. Because at that time there was social media.
Yeah.
Don't go on the social media. Don't read any of the emails. Just give yourself a little bit of time. And no, like I have therapists now, and therapy is great. I think everybody should have therapy or therapist or whatever they have to make themselves at peace with their mind, whether it be going to the beach or going to the park or reading a book or yoga or whatever it is that makes you clear your mind and feel better. I think that's just some people, they need a little bit more help than others. You know, it's been 13 years since I've been off, and people still, I'll be somewhere, they're screaming my name and coming, grabbing me, leaving, running away. And so
weird.
It never like leaves you, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just, you got like a lot of tough skin and thicker skin, but some people just are made different and they can't handle it, or it doesn't even faze them, you know? So I think mental health is a big issue when it comes to being out of that house and just being out in the outside world and adapting to just being back in society, being allowed to be back in society.
Right. It's got to be tough because here you are for like months.
And it's just a cold turkey, like flip the switch and you're out and kick you to the curb. Like, that's nuts.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I went from like one house to being locked into another house, and then to be locked into like a hotel. And then I come out and all these people know everything about me.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God, I love you.
And you're like, who are you? Yeah.
My head is like spinning off, and I don't even remember if they told me their name, but they know everything about me.
Oh.
I didn't really know like what to do. Like I had a phone. I was like not sure if I was allowed to use it. I was waiting for like Big Brother to tell me to change my battery. It took a little bit of like trying to get used to just being in the outside world. But just having everybody know who you are, running and chasing after you and saying things to you. And it took a lot to process, because like sometimes like they were telling me stuff that I said, and I'm like, I don't think I said that. And they were like, yeah, you did in this room and the blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh yeah. I'm like,
you don't remember everything you've said for the past 3 months straight. Like that's crazy.
Sorry. Like I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know, like, but
oh man,
it comes with the territory. And I just don't think that like you can get ready for something like that unless you've done it before.
So this is a perfect segue to get into we have a segment that we do at the end of our show. It's called Mental Health. We put a little music, and then we just kind of we just share our little tips and tricks of the trade. Sometimes they're really in depth. Sometimes they're just fun little tricks for anxiety management and that kind of stuff. For me today, my tip is, and this is legal in Massachusetts now, so so we're all good. And it's just microdosing. So back when I was having really bad anxiety, I would come home from work, and not to the point of like putting myself into oblivion, but I would, what I'm going to call microdose on little THC gummies. I'd take my little bite of my couple little milligrams or whatever it is right before bed, and it would just settle you from the day, kind of ease you into the night, and you get like the best sleep ever. Like you feel like you're under like a weighted blanket. Like it just feels very much calm and soothing, and it just settles all your nerves. And I found that to be very effective. I was doing that for quite some time.
Yeah, I'm gonna say hell yeah to that. I also gonna say hell yeah to a little glass of vino or whatever I mean, I'm not talking about like getting cray on a weekday.
No,
getting cray on a weekday. I like that. But like a little glass of wine, just to when you get home from a long day, wind down. I did partake in some of the bluntage action when I was younger, pre Big Brother, but then started getting more into like try not to, and maybe just like a little joint here and there. I can't do like the edibles too much because sometimes it just doesn't hit right. I get more anxious and more anxiety.
Oh, that's not good. Yeah.
About 5 years ago, I woke up one day and I was head to toe having hives. It stemmed from me having a MRI where they put like the ink in you. And so I had an allergic reaction from that. And then about a couple weeks later, I had another allergic reaction from, they still don't know to this day what it was from. From that point on, I had an allergic reaction every single day for 2.5 years. It's considered CIU, chronic idiopathic urticaria, which means over 6 months, I had hives every day and they don't know what it's from. So I've done all the tests. I did, for cancer, leukemia, hepatitis, thyroids, rheumatoid arthritis. I think I said that already. Lupus, Lyme disease, just really anything. And nothing they can find out why. So I did all the foods. I tried being gluten-free. If you don't know, guess what? Shampoos have gluten in them, laundry detergent, makeup, all that stuff. So I started doing all that. I stopped drinking. I stopped doing whatever. That's why I stopped smoking. I just did everything that I could to try to see what I could battle. And then I just said to myself, well, I am allergic to bullshit. Bullshit. You can't, that's not on a goddamn test. Like I'm like allergic to like some of the world's BS.
Yeah.
And just, it was probably a lot of stress induced. We still don't know to this day what it was from, but that was very mentally blowing, like my mind, because every day it would either be on my face, on my neck, on my ears, on my feet, on my arms, on my chest. It just would be somewhere different almost every day, or it'd be my whole body.
Oh my God.
I would be fine. And then during the day, it would come up, and I work out in public. I work, in an environment where I have to be around people, and people would not probably take that very well, seeing me like that. They would be scared. They would be like, am I going to catch something from you? And I'm like, it's like allergic reaction. Luckily, I never had it in my inside of my body, because then I would have anaphylactic shock and I could probably die, but it never, God, thank you, Jesus, went in my throat or anything like that. To this day, we don't know actually what it is. So it re-triggered when my niece died 6 months ago. For the first month or month and a half, I got the reactions back. Then it started going away. But for a good 2 years, I was clear, where I never had anything. So that was a very mentally exhausting and draining. I didn't want to leave my house. I was afraid to go out. I was afraid to just be anywhere. I would be somewhere and I would have to leave. So I just try to do the best I can to just get myself as better as I can get with the surroundings, with just being around good people. That's why I have acquaintances, but I have really good friends, and you can barely count them on my hand.
Yeah.
Something my mom says is, you can have a best friend, but it's when your teeth hurt you, that's when you don't have a best friend anymore. That's like a Portuguese saying.
Yeah. It's always something with the teeth.
Yeah, always something with the teeth. And when your teeth start hurting, then that's when you got a problem spot.
Yeah.
So I just learned that, especially with being also on TV and stuff, a lot of people act different towards you. And, there's a lot of different types of energy around you. So I've minimized my circle. I've learned to try to take my stress and just take a minute sometimes just to breathe. Like I said, I do see a therapist, but it's not like I see one like all the time that I say it's 100% that. But I just try to be around the people that give me good vibes and energy, and a little vape action too. And my boyfriend, he's probably been the one that has got me out of that kind of rut. So he's been around, and actually when I stopped having my allergic reactions is when I met him. So he was like my missing piece. He's Greek. He's from Athens, and So I can't get away from the Europeans.
No.
You're not going to go out with no Portuguese guy. Oh, no, 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 no. So
no, but the Greek are very much like us too. They're very similar. I went to a Greek festa a few weeks ago, actually, here in New Hampshire. And I'm like, this feels like a Portuguese festa.
Oh, yeah. They had like the mashas almost, like the hanshus almost. They have their own that they throw the dollars and everything.
They had this little Greek lady on the thing and she was singing in Greek and it was the cutest thing. It was awesome. But as far as your mental health thing, something very similar happened to me a few years ago where I just head to toe hives and then I had all these other weird symptoms and it went on forever. And they got me tested for everything under the sun. And eventually they diagnosed me with generalized anxiety disorder. And that was the cause of all of my issues, including the hives. So it's very interesting. And yours seems to be somewhat tied to anxiety as well because it's re-triggering and stuff like that. So it's just, they put me on medication at the time for anxiety, which I've weaned off of now, and I manage it. I try to manage it more naturally, but it was awful. Like I was in a deep, dark place for like almost a year of, medical Googling and all this stuff. And it was just terrible.
So you went through it too?
And it was horrible. Like it was all consuming. It was like the only thing you thought about. And I was in these rabbit holes on Google and they tested me for everything. And I was just convinced that I was going to die. Yeah. And it was just this horrible, horrible thing. And then they were like, this is anxiety. And I'm like, oh. Okay. Yeah. And as soon as I found out it was anxiety, I was able to like switch something off in my brain and being like, okay, I can control this mentally. Like if it was something else physically going on with me, like you can't necessarily fix that, but I'm like, I can retrain my brain to think different things. And so that's how we've been managing it. But it's tough.
It's interesting. It's nice to hear, not because I feel like I want that to happen to you, but I thought I was like the only one that went through it. So
it was so brutal. It was awful.
Yeah.
She helps me with my anxiety to this day. She'll yell at me. She'll tell me not to Google anymore. She's like, you can't be Googling when you're in like a panic state because it's not your friend. She's like, Google is not your friend. I'm like, you're right. It's not.
So Kel, do you have a mental health one that you want to add on? And then we will close this bad boy out.
Mine's is just like aromatherapy. Like I like to light my candles, my incense. I feel like the smells just can be nice and soothing and helps you de-stress. So mine's quick.
Oh no, I like that. I prefer the Macintosh for Yankee Candle.
Oh yeah.
Like you're in like an apple farm and you're like tumbling around with like Cortland apples.
Yeah,
and stuff.
It's nice for fall too. It gives you vibes.
You just have to make sure you blow them all out so you don't have anxiety that you're going to burn the house down.
That's another thing. I know. It's like,
yeah, I keep it close by. Talking to my mom and she's like, "Tu tens uma candle on? Did you put it on already? Faz vid. Now I turn it to my mom. I've been like, oh my God, I got to go back and I turn around my car and I go back to check and make sure I unplug the straightener.
Yep.
Yep.
So I completely get that. You got to be careful. Like you don't want extra anxiety on something that's supposed to take out the anxiety.
Right. Exactly.
We're all cut from the same cloth. I swear.
I love it.
I know.
Awesome.
It's the cultural guilt and anxiety it runs deep. It's genetic.
It's real.
Yeah.
It's real.
Yeah.
That's why they drink a lot of wine.
Seriously.
And aguardente, just they're done.
Just goes right down.
Nothing to think about. You just out cold till tomorrow. We wake up, you don't even know what happened the day before. You literally just like got in a fight with your cousins. You just owned all of them, and then you wake up, and they don't remember either. So everything's fine and dandy.
It's all good. A new day. Yeah.
There's gonna be some truth to that because, like, between my parents, my dad obviously is the drinker, and he's not anxious. He doesn't worry really about anything. He's pretty much kind of healthy-ish, minus the liver. But he got my mom that she does drink, but like, with her like meal, she's anxious as fuck. She's on all this medication, all this stuff. And I'm like, so there's some truth to that. I'm not saying to like go binge and drink alcohol, but it helps. It's gotta help.
A little decompressant.
Yeah. It does. They just sometimes decompress too much.
Oh yeah. Sometimes we can't figure out the stop button.
Yeah.
So this was awesome. Is there anything specific that you want to share while you have the opportunity to? I don't know if there's anything you want to plug or promote. If you don't have anything, you don't need to.
Well, I mean, I'm not got anything going on right now in regards to like the next couple of days. But if you want to follow me, I'm on Facebook, Michelle Costa, or Michelle Costa BB10. I'm on Twitter, Michelle BB10. I am on Instagram, Michelle BB10. I'm on TikTok, but I don't do anything. I just watch videos until I can't watch videos anymore. I do a lot of meet and greets with COVID happening that kind of really like put a hold in a lot of things. The finale, like I would have been there this week. So I think that that's going to start to get a little bit better. I always do a Toys for Tots every year up in New Hampshire, actually. What part of New Hampshire are you in, Melissa?
All right, stop. Because I met you at one of those. Hold on.
She's been talking about this for years.
Hold on. I have a picture.
I mean, everybody looks so familiar and stuff. Like, I feel like I know you, but I just feel like I know you guys because we're Portuguese, and I feel like we probably like like have met before or like a different life.
Yeah, no, we have, and we were singing.
Oh my god,
we have. You probably won't be able to hear the audio on this, but you'll definitely. This is Vanilla Ice.
Oh my god, Ice baby. Oh my god. Look how skinny I am.
I don't know why it's not rolling. Hold on.
I love it. Oh my god, look at the afro. I love it. Oh, go. Get it. Get it. Oh, I am out on the floor.
Ice baby. Ding, 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 ding,
ding, ding, ding, ding. Ice baby.
And then we were all singing like Journey, like Don't Stop Believing.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
That was probably 5 or 6 years ago now, but it was so fun. It was hysterical. So are they still doing that?
Yeah, so it started back up. We did it last year, and we had it was like Big Brother people and TikTokers.
Oh, cool.
They're planning on doing it again this year. So Cowboy was living in New Hampshire for a year, and he just moved last week.
Oh.
Yeah. We're supposed to be doing one again this year, so I'll keep you posted.
Yeah.
But that we've been doing, and I've been doing that for like almost 10 years.
Wow.
I mean, there's nothing in the works right now. Like I said, I just had knee surgery in March, and I just went to the doctor today, and they're thinking that I got to have another knee surgery because it didn't go so great.
No.
So that's happening. Yes. So it's kind of one of those things where, I'm like kind of a little bit held offing on what's going on, traveling and stuff. I haven't been able to do any of that because of my injury. Hopefully, I mean, I would love to be able to go back on either Big Brother or the fact that now they have the challenge that's now incorporating a lot of Big Brother. I think they need to go back into the old school. And I have a lot of friends that are on the challenge or Real World and Road Rules. A lot of friends that I know and have that still are involved, whether it's the one that's on CBS or the one that's on MTV or the one that's on Peacock and stuff like that. I'm very good friends with Mark Long. And I know he brought back the old school all-star versions of the challenge, and then they're starting to remake a lot of the Road Rules. So I'm hoping that they are going to do something where they go back into the old school and the old depths, like the meat and the potatoes of getting people back in front of the camera.
Yep.
People don't need to have 6 packs, and they don't need to look good in the outfit to be able to compete, to get more people in there that look like an everyday person, and everyday people can relate with them. And also, it's what's better than watching somebody who might have a couple of pounds of popsicles on them kick the shit out of somebody who's been starving and angry, and been eating granola bars or whatever the hell they've been doing, and just killing it.
Yes.
But I think that with like them joining forces now, Viacom with CBS, I think it's they're having to kind of figure out their way within that kind of side of it, because CBS is a little bit of a bigger production that they're trying to incorporate their views and their thoughts and little by little to see what catches. And then I think this being the first season of Challenge, they wanted to see how it actually worked on CBS. And I think it was such a great hit.
Yep.
So it's really good to be able to see where they go from here. because like I said, I do think that Viacom is going to be a very key role into kind of getting back to being a little bit more what we remember Big Brother and just like other reality. It's like Survivor's been kind of staying the same, and Amazing Race has been staying the same. So like, why couldn't they stick with that with Big Brother? So hopefully it gets back, and they need a little Portuguese to come back. You know?
Yes.
So we'll see what happens, but.
Yeah, hopefully, if you end up having your knee surgery, you're going to be rolling around like Jasmine on that little scooter.
Listen, don't let the knee surgery fool you. You know what I mean? I'll come right out of that surgery room and go right rolling up into that thing like nothing's going on. I'll throw a little bit of flour on there. You know what I mean? Like I'll be like, okay, what do we got going on? Like, I don't care. My legs got to be falling off. If
you got to fake it, you got to just pretend that you're not in pain.
Yep. Or I can utilize it for my benefit and be like, oh my God, I'm not going to win anything because of this damn knee. Oh my God.
Oh, I know.
Around and then
kicks it up. Listen, we're gonna make this happen. We need to get you on next season. We need to do that, and then we'll root for you because that would be so awesome.
They do a lot of online Big Brother games that have been getting actually really huge now with everything going on, social media taking kind of over. I'm sure you've seen a lot of different Big Brother games being played. So look for me. I've played a few games, but there's some things in the works.
Awesome. So nice. Can't wait. You'll have to keep us in touch.
Yes.
Keep us updated.
Yes. Because I do probably need to utilize some assistance from all aspects of social media.
Awesome.
Because it involves that. So I will need your girls' help if you guys.
Yes. We will share. We will do whatever we need to do.
We will be the Pooh Mafia. The Pooh Mafia.
I like that.
Pooh Mafia. I love it.
I love that.
Love it.
All right. Thank you so much, Michelle. This was awesome. I loved having you on, and it feels like we're old family members,
like related.
I know. Awesome. Thank you guys for inviting me on here and letting me like just talk. I guess I didn't really stop talking, but
no, it's fine.
I appreciate you guys having me on and asking me just awesome questions about my background and what's really important to me. And whoever is listening, Viva Portugal. Portugal lost today, but that's okay. They lost, but they're not losers in the world. They're winners in my book. Yeah, thank you guys for all your support throughout all these years and just having my Portuguese crazy back.
Awesome. Right on. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
We'll definitely be in touch. We won't lose touch after this.
No, we're family now.
Yeah. Familia.
Yeah, familia.
Bye. So it's about that time. Thanks for listening.
If you're enjoying our podcast, please just give us a review on whatever platform you're using to listen to us. You can also visit our website. It's folkandfad.com. We have transcripts available there of every episode. And you can also send us an email, mail@folkandfad.com. Or you can hit us up on Twitter. Same handle there, folkandfad.
And for Instagram, you can follow us at _It's Called Culture.